Deep Threat Sports Network fans, welcome back. We are live again this week. We are loving this new live feature. Hopefully this week we have even more kinks figured out and everything's going even better. Nolan, hey, welcome back to the show this week. Hopefully the Wi-Fi holds up and doesn't go out right at the beginning of this show like last week. Bryant, welcome back again as always. Fellas, how we been? How we doing? And I still can't say it enough. This live stream is awesome.
Yes,
Boy,
sir. Doing good.
We're in the absolute dog days of summer right now.
Dude, it is miserably hot.
Like
I went
outside
today. I picked some weeds for like an hour. Worst decision of my lifetime. And just absolutely dripping in sweat in 1 hour stepping foot outside. Absolutely horrible. Do not recommend that for anybody. Feel bad for these boys that are practicing right now too. Jesus. Real quick, let's talk about some late-breaking news, eh? So we have Memphis. News just came out that they were rejected by the Big 12 to move to the conference. That's pretty wild. And UNC now all of a sudden, as of today, is trying to make their break for the SEC and leave the ACC. So Nolan, Bryant, how do you guys think about that? Like, I'm still really shocked, one, that Memphis was rejected by the Big 12. I think they're a pretty consistent football and basketball program. You would think they'd be allowed to and welcome to that conference. And UNC trying to make that break for the SEC, that is one I did not see coming. What do you boys think?
Yeah, I was a bit shocked by the Memphis news. I feel like that's a good school that would have made that conference better. And weren't they offering like $200+ million for the move? That alone is probably enough to warrant a move to my conference if I'm the Big 12. But whatever, I guess they'll continue being the fourth conference in the Power Four, in my opinion. As far as UNC, we've seen teams like this. They can explore or move all they want. I don't see it happening personally. I just don't think it fits right for the SEC. So I don't see it happen. I think this is just a bunch of smoke.
Yeah, I can't believe Memphis got rejected. It seems like a hand in glove fit. They'd be in the mix with everybody contending for a title. They keep dumping money into their football and their basketball program. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. But it really does piss me off about UNC all of a sudden just coming out and saying they want to move to the SEC after Florida State and Clemson have already done the heavy lifting on figuring out how to get out of here. And UNC just, when Bill Belichick comes and he wants something, he's like, yep, let's do it. Everybody's already done the work for us anyway.
I can't get over this. Like when I saw that kind of breaking today, I just sat there for a second. I was like, is this real? Like I had to go make sure that this was actual real news and not fake news. So we'll see how that breaks down. Really anxious to see how that plays out. Obviously, there's been a lot of smoke, a lot of fire about a lot of these teams cutting ties with their current conference and bailing and going somewhere else. And it doesn't always work out that way. So we'll see how this plays out. Nolan, so let's try our luck this week. So do you have a new question for us to start this episode off this week that hopefully we can get through this time?
I do. So it pertains to our episode today. We're talking about all the G5 teams, especially the ones that we think have a chance to make it to the playoff. So the question this week is, does a G5 team have a chance of winning a playoff game? I'm not talking winning the national champion. That is far and away going to have wild things happen if that is the case. But in my opinion, the G5 team, since we're doing straight seeding or they're wanting to move to straight seeding, you will be playing more than likely the number 5 or 6 seed, which is likely the second best SEC or second best Big Ten school. I don't know what you boys think, but I think there's a less than 5% chance any of these G5 teams, no matter the year, have a chance of winning.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the show and all about this, and I said only the reason a team I think that could possibly do it is a team maybe like the UCF of a few years back that self-proclaimed themselves the national champion. They were a really good football team out of the G5, but they really only beat a middling Auburn team, in my opinion. So even a team like that would have trouble beating a 5 or a 6 seed or whatever it would be. And I think that was one of the better G5 teams we've ever seen. So I agree with you. I think a less than 5% chance is probably the ceiling for that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, too. When we had the 14 playoffs, Cincinnati was still a G5 team, right? They weren't in the Big 12 at that time, correct?
That might have been their first year of the Big 12.
I'm pretty confident.
I would say they were still in.
Do what, Bryant?
I want to say they were still in the American.
I'm 90% sure, yes, that they were. So we've seen a team like Cincinnati kind of bust into a 14 playoff before this playoff expansion, before they were a Power 4 or 5 conference team, and they didn't have success. We see a UCF team like you're talking about, Bryant, that was one of the better G5 teams that we've ever seen at the time, and, didn't get their chance, I guess you could say, but also wouldn't play the bowl game, and they did look good, but they just – I don't know. You look at Boise State last year, and this was a team that we thought was really, really good, had the best running back in the country, had a pretty stout offensive line to make these things happen in these type of games, and they still came up a little bit short. So I don't feel great about a G5 team ever winning a playoff game, but it's really tough to say it's never going to happen because at some point it's probably going to happen, right? I mean, this is sports. Crazy things do happen. And I think when you see these lesser teams play these better opponents, the longer they sit there in the game and have a chance, the better off that they are. Like the longer that they have a little bit of life, they're like, okay, hey, we can do this. Hey, 5 more minutes, we're in this game. 1 stop, let's drive, kick a field goal. Like you start to believe in yourself. The sideline gets a little bit more belief, and these kind of things can happen. So it's hard to say it's never going to happen, and especially with the playoff expansion. So I'm not going to say never, but I don't like the odds that it's going to happen anytime soon. And I'll be honest, going into this episode, I don't feel great about a whole lot of G5 teams, especially this season.
I just looked it up. Cincinnati was in the group of 5 the year they made the playoff. But again, that's
though.
We talked about this on the Big 12 episode. I am not sure that it's not just the collection of talent that went unnoticed, especially with some of these recruiting rankings getting better. It's harder and harder for these guys to go under the radar. You had people like Sauce Gardner, just off the top of my head. That dude's one of the best corners in the NFL, and you're telling me not a single person was able to evaluate that? Not a chance that happens, and that wasn't terribly long ago.
No, and then Desmond Ridder wasn't bad either, and he didn't hardly have any offers out of high school. Yep. Granted, you can kind of develop, but still.
That was a rare case. Like, you see that much talent go unrecognized. Like, to your guys' point, with technology and social media and the way guys can develop film and get film out to coaches, it's really hard for these guys to fly under the radar now. Now, let's also not forget in the modern era of a transfer portal, maybe a G5 team puts together one hell of a transfer portal class and go and rob some of these P4 players that aren't getting all kinds of playing time, and they come to these G5 teams and they put it together. So, I mean, there is recipes for success in this situation. I don't know if it's going to happen, especially anytime soon. So that's where I stand on this. You guys go ahead.
Take somebody like Dion moving from Colorado down to one of the G4 teams and just, come play for me. People seem to want to do that no matter where he goes. He had 2 of the biggest commits that year commit to a historically black university that we've never seen done before. I think it would take something like that. Somebody just pulling you in as charismatic as Dion is.
Yeah, I could see that. And we have a comment coming in that there is no G5 team as talented as that Cincinnati team. Man, I totally agree with you. Mm-hmm. That's from a loyal listener out there. Mike, he follows us pretty heavy. I totally agree. I mean, this is something that we were kind of saying too at the beginning of this question is there has just never been a team that you see on both sides of the ball that can do what that Cincinnati team was able to do. I mean, we thought Boise State was as talented as they get G5 wise, and they just didn't have it. I mean, so yeah, I feel pretty good about this answer. And there's got to be a way at some point in time though, where they can somehow have a better chance. I don't know. I just don't think it happens. So with that being said, we are going to move on, like Nolan said, and talk about these G5 win totals. So we kind of came together as a group on Deep Threat Sports Network and came together and talked about some teams that we would like to highlight, put on stage in our episodes, and break them down and talk about their win totals. So tonight for you, I believe we have 8 teams, and really looking forward to diving into these G5 teams. And at the end of this, we are going to make a pick of the teams that we talk about tonight as to who makes it to the playoffs this year for the G5. And then obviously down the road, we will have our playoff episode and hopefully still be in line with the pick that we make tonight. So fellas, you guys ready to get this thing rolling?
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, fellas, let's do this thing. The first team that we are going to talk about tonight is Tulane. And this Tulane team is a pretty damn good team. The over-under sitting at 8.5, the over at plus 105, the under at minus 135. This is a team that I feel like could make some serious noise coming into this thing. I feel really damn good about what they bring to the table this season. John Summerall, great coach, came from Troy, had success there. 23 and 4 as a coach there. This is year 2 for him. 7-1 conference play last year in the AAC. Number 2 portal class in the AAC. Fellas, how are we feeling about Tulane this year?
I think this is a good football team, but I'm on the under at 8. They have some tougher games. Personally, I think. They have 2 Power 5 games at home, but they're going to be underdogs in those games. They play Ole Miss on the road. I chalk that up as a loss. And I think the road game against Memphis is going to be one of their tougher conference games that they have on the schedule. And personally, they've been riding the tails of some great players the past couple of years, and they lose all those guys. I mean, who's going to replace Darian Mensah? They're going to play him in week 3. Who's going to replace Mekhi Hughes? He's transferred out. Those are their 2 best players by far. They have some quarterbacks coming in. They got Retzlaff this week out of BYU as a transfer, as a walk-on. Personally, I don't know if he steps in right away to be the quarterback because of all the time he's missed with the team. No spring ball. But he is the best quarterback. I think he sneaks in there at some point. But they got an Iowa transfer at quarterback as well as a guy that's been there a few years as well. What is his name? Samosa. And he's been great behind – he was great behind Mensah as well. So I got him at 8. I think they win the rest of their games besides the 4 that I mentioned, but a rather tough schedule for a G5 team personally.
I am taking the over at 9. I give them the Memphis game, mostly because of that Retzlaff transfer, to be honest. By that time, he's the most talented quarterback, like you said. Give him time to be with the team, learn the playbook, whatever he needs to do to be the leader of the team. It's a 50-50 game, and I was going to give it to Memphis until I saw about the Retzlaff news. And then they also, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Maurice Westmoreland, he was a terror as a defensive end, and he actually transferred to them this year. And when they played Nebraska, he was on another G5 team last year, but when they played Nebraska, they double-teamed him damn near every snap. To be double-teamed as a G5 player against a P4 team, that says something. So I think their defense is really what's going to carry them, and just let Retzlaff kind of come on into the season, carry into the 9-win. Like you said, Bryant, I have the exact same losses. Both are home to the P4 teams, and then Ole Miss, I don't think they have any chance in those games.
So it sounds like we are completely aligned on this. I have the same thing. As you can see, the schedule we have up for you here on our live stream in between all of us. I have the Northwestern loss, Duke loss, and Ole Miss loss as well. I'm sitting at 9-3. I'll be honest, though, fellas, the Jake Retzlaff thing for me, I'm really curious to see how that plays out, right? You come in this late. There's a lot of noise surrounding him, and I just don't necessarily know if he's going to be the guy right away, kind of like Brian alluded to. But one thing I do know is John Summerall, as the coach there, I talked about it. When he came from Troy, and you were 23-4 as a coach at Troy, and you come in here and you go 7-1 in conference play your first year with your new school at Tulane, I love what this coach has to offer. I think at some point you see John Summerall in the Power 4. This is a guy that's equipped to take the next level as a head coach, and I love what this team has to offer and their opponents. But with that being said, this is a fairly tough schedule for a G5 team. Anytime you wind up with an Ole Miss on your schedule as a G5 school, good luck. And we've all, anybody that's listening to us out there that's followed us this whole season, off season, I should say, I'm pretty high on Duke. Like you draw a Duke and an Ole Miss and you're Tulane, and Duke's where your quarterback just went to. Good luck, man. This is not fun. But they should take care of business outside of that. I mean, outside of those 3, I would say their next toughest games, but probably Memphis. That's actually a really tough game as well, and that one's very coin flippy. So outside of that game, I should say you kind of have a South Alabama and a UTSA and an Army. Those 3 are pretty tough opponents too. So this thing could kind of go south, especially if the quarterback situation doesn't fall in line like they're really expecting it to with the Retzlaff news.
We got Mike in the chat saying he leans Tulane over Northwestern. I know Northwestern's not that great, but I think I still got to give it to Northwestern there. It's going to be a good game. That'll be a great game to start the season.
This one was – I actually looked into this, and I'm glad Mike brought this to attention because we kind of did just glance over it as a P4 opponent. I remember when we did our Big Ten episode, I remember Bryant talking about, hey, there's a chance Tulane does beat Northwestern. So, and I'm drawing a blank on Northwestern's quarterback right now. I actually just looked at that today, and he's not bad. I'm drawing a blank on who it is, if anybody could help me out with that. But, yeah, dude, it would not shock me to see Tulane beat Northwestern. There is a world where that Memphis game is harder for Tulane than the Northwestern game, in all seriousness. So, I think they get to 9-3, though. Brian, are you looking up that quarterback by chance?
Yeah.
Preston Stone.
Oh, yeah, that's SMU guy.
Yep, left SMU because he got beat out by Kevin Jennings midseason. Dude, he can sling it for Northwestern.
He's good. But to this point,
he got beat out.
That game's at home, too, for Tulane.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
It's going to be hot down there in Louisiana.
Maybe Mike's right. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're wrong. I could totally see it. I'm serious when I say that, too. I love bringing that to the table there.
Maybe we're watching this game instead of like Texas and Ohio State that day, and Florida State and Alabama were tuned into Northwestern and Tulane.
Not a chance that Florida State game is coming off my phone. I'll be on the beach that day in Mexico. I will be watching Florida State beginning to end. I don't care if we're losing by 35.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Definitely be tuned in. You got to be tuned in week 1 for Florida State. You still have some hope at that point in time. Hey, moving on to Memphis, the next team that we're going to talk about. The over-under is at 8.5, the over at plus 115, the under at minus 145. Fellas, another great team right here. We just talked about them in the Tulane situation. I think it definitely, for me, these are two of the top G5 teams in all of the country. I think we could see these two battle it out for maybe a playoff spot towards the end of this season. You have Ryan Silverfield in here since 2019. He's 42-21 as the head coach there, 10-2 in 2024. The number 1 transfer portal class in the AAC. This is a completely reloaded and defense and offense. You have Brendan Lewis in there, quarterback from Nevada. Had a fairly decent season there last year, and you kind of revamped the offensive line and the defensive line, like I said a second ago, in the portal. You completely rebuilt it through the portal, and I think you had better guys coming in than you had going out personally. So I kind of like what they did in the portal. I like this situation for them, and I think this is a very favorable schedule compared to what we just talked about with Tulane. So, Nolan, where do you have Memphis at?
I agree it's a favorable schedule, but they lost probably the best quarterback in their program history this past year. I'm not sure they're going to get that type of production again. And truthfully, as I was given Tulane the Memphis game, there's also another reason. Memphis is secondary. They're not going to be great this year. They just cannot seem to defend the pass, which in their conference against some of these teams that they play, I'm not sure is going to bode well for them. I do like their offensive line transfers they brought in. They brought in 6 guys to replace 3 spots. They brought in some linebacker transfers. All of them played in the P4, and they weren't the starter on their team, but they were the kind of second guy up, I guess I would say, first guy off the bench, whatever you want to call it. And they were good linebackers for their team when they needed to provide some cleanup duty. It's just, I think their secondary is going to be a big question mark for them. If they could clean up their secondary, and I knew they could be average to above average, I'd probably give them the Tulane game, and they would be running this schedule pretty easily. But I got them losing to Tulane. Navy actually looks like they can throw the ball around this year. They threw the ball around last year pretty well. I got them losing to Arkansas as well. So they're going to be another team kind of right on the line of that 8-9 win. It's kind of coming down to some coin flip games.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The schedule is very easy compared to like what we just talked about with Tulane. But you hit the nail on the head, Nolan. They're projected to have 14 to 16 transfer starters this year. That is kind of hard to put into and install on your team. Yeah, it might take some time for them to gel, but if they do gel right away, could be a good football team. I agree with you about the quarterback. Seth Hennigan was really good. I saw him in person. Brendan Lewis from Nevada is not him. So I think that the offense takes a step back. But this schedule, I think they get 10 wins. I only have them losing to Arkansas and Navy. And the hardest games they have are at home. So they play Arkansas at home, they play Navy at home, and they play Tulane at home. So personally, honestly, they could maybe beat Arkansas. Arkansas is not going to be very good. Don't think it happens. Arkansas notoriously has not been very good at that stadium, but never know.
You're just being a hater, Bryant. You're just being a Mizzou hater.
Deer season this year,
we talked about it on the SEC, and you agreed. I'm physically agreeing.
I am with you. I am with you. I do have Arkansas winning this football game, though. I have them at 10-2. I'm over 8.5. I'm actually right there. You guys know by now how I do kind of my half-point win things, and I have them coming in at 9 with the half-point wins. So I have them losing to Arkansas, and Tulane, and that's it. They come in at 10-2. Everything you guys said, everything I said in the beginning of this when we introduced Memphis, they're a good team. I had the same questions that Nolan kind of talked about the backfield a little bit. But, fellas, when you play Tulsa, USF, Chattanooga, Georgia State, Troy, Florida Atlantic, UAB, and Rice, I don't think the secondary is too important. I think you can kind of handle business. I think you can out-muscle those teams, out-physical those teams. And I really think Ryan Silverfield is going to out-coach those teams. So I like where this Memphis team is at. I think this is an absolute Tulane-Memphis showdown setting up for an AAC run here. And I like where Memphis is at. So, yeah, I'm over 8.5, coming in at 10-2. You guys go ahead, Bill.
Also, I think as we're talking about the AAC, I'm almost positive I saw earlier this week they have rebranded themselves. They're now just the American Conference.
Just the American. Okay, I apologize.
They're the American. I'm almost positive I saw that this week.
Hey, I like it. We're just going to call them the American.
The AC.
The AC.
The AC.
Okay. So they're going to have some
need AC right now.
They're going to have some sponsorships, out there from some AC teams, kind of like that guy at LSU had.
Remember Dakotas Crawford?
Dakotas Crawford, man.
He's sponsored by
the HVAC company, the local to Baton Rouge.
That still is the best NIL deal of all time. Your name Dakotas Crawford and the HVAC company sponsor gives you an NIL deal. Incredible.
The American Conference, sponsored by whoever, some AC unit company.
Oh, I love it, dude. That's incredible. And like you said, we could use some more AC right now. It's hot as shit. All right, moving on to the next team that we're going to talk about. We have Navy, another football team that we've seen a lot of success here last season. Another football team that can make some noise. And we talked about this last year, fellas. There was a realistic chance coming down to that Army-Navy football game that one of them could have found their way to the playoffs. It did not happen because Boise State was so successful, but there was a realistic chance that took place. Brian Newberry is a staple for Navy right now as the head coach, 6-2 in the conference last year. Obviously, they don't dance around in the portal, so no portal conversation with them. They just what they are. They run the triple option. They have Blake Horvath in there who can swing the rock around, and this Navy team shaping up to be pretty damn nice. They're hard-nosed, they're physical, they're disciplined, and I think that's what makes them lethal when they play some of these teams and they're in the ball game late. So the over-under is at 8.5 to over -125. The under -105. Bryant, where are you at with this Navy football team?
I got this team at 10 wins. Relatively easier schedule too, I think. Their losses for me are Notre Dame and at North Texas. If you look at North Texas, I think they're actually going to be a decent football team this year. They have a lot of Power 5, Power 4 transfers on that team. Guys like Nolan mentioned earlier with Tulane, 2 deep guys from the Power 4 conference that transferred down to them. But I think they win the rest of their games. Nolan kind of alluded to it earlier. Blake Horvath is the best passing quarterback that we've seen in Navy in a long time. I mean, they were actually running some spread last year with him, and he was doing very well. So the only thing about this team is their defense. It's been kind of their Achilles heel the past couple of years is their defensive side of the ball. They can shore that up. If Blake Horvath is the player like he was last year, 1,000+ yards with his legs, 2,000+ yards through the air, Navy's going to be a really good football team, and I think they have a chance to make some noise.
He might be like the best passing quarterback they've had since Staubach. I mean, this is what's crazy for Navy. When you can get a guy that can throw the football, I mean, that makes them a little bit more of a threat. So as long as they have some receivers, man. One thing I want to point out, when you watch a Navy football game, They are obviously strong on the offense and defensive line, but you see them a lot of time. They are undersized, right? Because these guys have to be in shape. Like, they have shit they have to do outside of football, so they have to stay in shape. So sometimes you're not getting the big heavy offensive linemen like you do in the bigger Power 4 conferences. So Nolan, where are you at with this Navy football team?
I got them pretty much same as Bryant, 10-2, 11-1. Wow. I could give them the North Texas game. It could go either way. It kind of depends on another team. Their secondary, they're starting 3 sophomores in their secondary this year. Could lead to some breakdowns, like Bryant was saying about their defense. They also lost their top 3 tacklers from last year. So I think it's going to come down more shootout games, although Navy averaged almost 30 points last year per game. They got almost everybody returning on offense. I think they could do the same. And like Bryant said, we saw them in the spread. I think that actually made their triple option run game better.
Absolutely.
It gives Horvath a little bit of a chance to see what people are doing instead of center, guard, defensive tackle in his face immediately and have to make a decision. You have a little bit of a buffer zone, that 2-3 yards. I'm not even talking full shotgun. Put him back in a pistol so you can still do your triple option stuff, but give him 2 yards just to read a guy. And you saw him a lot on some of those plays last year where he was supposed to do more like a power off tackle type thing. Defensive tackle took the running back, and he went directly behind where that defensive tackle just came from. It just gives him a better chance to read it, gives him a better chance to throw it. I like Navy this year. They're actually my pick to win their conference.
Okay. Hey, I don't hate that. And let's also talk about something else. We talked about the triple option a couple of times here. When no teams in college football, besides like 2 or 3, run the triple option anymore, it makes the triple option that much harder to defend. The backers on the opposing team lining up across from Horvath and company, dude, their eyes are everywhere because you're faking here, you're faking left, you're faking right, you're pulling guards, you're pulling the offensive line. There is so much going on. There's receivers in motion, there's tight ends in motion. Literally everything is pre-snap, and that gets in the defense's head. And then at that point in time, they're running not as many plays on offense. They're clicking a lot of time off the clock. I mean, you find yourself in games late when you run the triple option, and that's why Newberry and Navy has had success, and Blake Horvath legitimately makes them a tough-ass opponent. So I'm not as sold as you guys, but I am at 9-3. I have I actually have them at 8.5 when I break down my half wins. I have them losing the North Texas game. I have them losing the Notre Dame game. I have them losing the Memphis game. So I had them losing their last 3 away games. I think they come out, rattle a lot of cages, make a ton of noise. The schedule shapes up really well for them all the way until the month of November. I think the month of November is where everything changes. To that point, they're kind of coasting, and I think they kind of meet their match a little bit down the stretch there. Obviously, the Army game could be really coin flippy, but I think at this point that Navy has the better quarterback, and that's why I'm going to go with Navy in that football game. So I am at 9-3, but we all 3 are on the over in this still.
I have a question you guys want to talk about real quick. When is the selection show for the CFP?
It was the Sunday after the Army-Navy game last year, right?
Okay.
It's very close after the Army.
Is it the 14th of December? The next day after this Army game?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because for some reason I thought it was the weekend before. Maybe that was the selection show of old before they went to the 12-team or the 12-team playoff. But I was like, man, would they be playing Army or if they already selected teams? Well, so that makes more sense. I imagine it's probably the 14th.
Maybe not, because this is saying the 2025 college football playoff selection show will be held on Sunday, December 7th, 2025.
Wow.
Yeah. See, that's what I thought.
Wasn't it the day after this game last year?
See, I thought it was always the first weekend in December.
Huh.
It was the day after conference championship games.
Yeah, so what do they do?
So Army, like, what if Army or Navy makes it?
I think we actually talked. Now that you bring this up, Bryant, I think last year we were actually talking about this right on that episode, like as we were kind of doing our playoff committee show and making our cases for teams that we think should be in. I think we actually talked about this, and I don't know. I don't know what you do in that situation. I think they're kind of gambling that Army and Navy never going to make it.
It's just interesting. I just thought of that when I saw 12-13 there on the schedule.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we'll have to pay some attention to that, especially if Navy's 10-2, like you guys have them going. I mean, at that point, there's a real case to be made there. So, anything else on Navy?
Nope.
All right, moving on to the next team that we would like to talk about on this G5 episode, and that is Boise State. Everybody out there that follows our show and follows college football is pretty familiar with Boise State at this point. I think you could say they are a staple for a G5 contender. And the over-under win total for them is 9.5, the over -180, the under +140. Do we need to talk about the success that they had last year? Because they had tons of it. Spencer Danielson's a fantastic coach. He's in his third year, 8-0 in conference play last year. Obviously, the team looks a little bit different this year. I think everybody knows why. When you lose Ashton Jeanty, who was the best running back in college football, and he goes on to the NFL, you kind of have to ask yourself, what do we look like this year? And where I can tell you that they're going to have some consistency is in Danielson. He's 15-3 as the head coach of this football program. And you also have Maddox Madsen back. A little bit about Maddox Madsen. Fellas, he's not a bad quarterback. He was an okay quarterback when they had a running back like they had that relieved a lot of pressure off of him, right? You see him, he does struggle with some reads. He gets a little bit of the happy feet, evades the portal pretty quickly, and sometimes doesn't always make the best throws. But I think this season he knows the team is going to kind of fall on his shoulders a little bit, right? He is now the leader. He is now the guy that this has to run through. So I'm really anxious to see how this plays out with Madsen being the guy. And also, let's talk about how you have experience as a playoff team now. A lot of guys returning on this roster have played in the playoff football game. They're telling themselves in the locker room, fellas, we've played in the hardest game we could play in. We played on the biggest stage we could play in up to this point. We are here. We know what to do in these situations. So how does that make you guys feel about Boise State with the over-under win total at 9.5? Bryant, are you feeling good about it, feeling bad about it? Where are you at with Maddox Madsen, I should say?
I think Maddox Madsen, like you said, we actually talked a lot of shit on him last year, personally, on the show, just because it always seemed like he made the bad decision when it counted most, and Jeanty would bail him out. I think he's an average quarterback. I think we see him kind of come back down to earth this year because he doesn't have him to lean on. But this is a pretty favorable schedule. I have them at 10 wins. Personally, I think they're going to come out flat. I think they lose the UCF game down in Florida, hot Florida, Thursday afternoon on the 28th there of August. But I think they win the rest of their games besides Notre Dame, obviously. Sire Games, the replacement for Jeanty, is a quality running back. He's not going to be like him, but he plays a lot like Jeanty. So I don't think they take a massive step back there. Obviously, you're not going to get 2,000-plus yards, but I could see him easily getting 1,200 to 1,500 probably. And they got some good guys on defense in the transfer portal as well. Sterling Lane from Arizona on the defensive end, and Jaden Mickey from Notre Dame as well. So I think that bodes well for them. I think it all comes down to how this defense plays compared to how they did last year, which is very well, and then how Maddox Madsen can control this offense without having the scapegoat of Jeanty behind him.
I agree with Caps Creations comment there. Soft schedule, I think that's the reason they get to that over and they get the 10-11 wins that Bryant's talking about. I mean, I could see them dropping a game to UNLV. I won't give them the USF game, but I could see them dropping a game to UNLV. They got a bunch of transfers this year, so who knows how they're going to be. Obviously, they're going to lose. I shouldn't say obviously. Notre Dame dropped one to Northern Illinois, but they're going to lose to Notre Dame, in my opinion. But I think it comes down to Maddox Madsen. I think their defense is going to be pretty good. They were a good unit last year. They could stop people when they needed to. But I think it just comes down to Maddox Madsen. Collin, I have to push back on you. I really don't think he's a good quarterback, man. I think it was just Jeanty is a generational talent. I know that's probably a term used too much when people talk about generational talents, but I think that's the only reason the guy looks serviceable last year. Some of those routes he was throwing off to the sideline, especially those outbreaking routes, they look like wounded ducks. They were barely getting there in some cases. Man, it was pretty rough to watch. And then as Bryant talks about Sire Gaines, I didn't know the guy's name until I started researching him this week. everybody's talking about him. And I was looking up on message boards because people were talking about how great this guy is. They are truthfully, and this is hard to believe, they are truthfully saying that he is going to be the next Ashton Genty. I saw that comment, I bet 10, 15 times that they truly believe he is that talented and he is going to be a superstar, top 20 pick. I can't say, as high as Genty went. I can't believe that, but top 20 pick in the draft when he comes out. They're real high on him.
Hey, you're giving away too much detail on this guy. Us three are in a fantasy football college league. I'm sure anybody listening to us out there in the league right now is must put this guy in his queue. But hey, no, seriously, that guy is an absolute monster. I've watched quite a bit of film on this guy just because I've kind of fallen in line, not really necessarily fallen in love, but I guess fallen in love with what Spencer Danielson has to offer at Boise State as a G5 school every year. And so I've watched some film on that guy. He mimics his game a lot off what Genty does. I mean, he's not afraid to run through a mother lover's face. I mean, this is a guy that he can kind of do it all. So maybe he alleviates a lot of the pressure. I'm coming in at 11-1, and we saw a couple comments from our listeners out there in Caps Creations and Mike, and both these guys think they have 10, 11 wins. And fellas, I'm falling in line with these guys. I completely agree. So I am at 11-1. They're one loss from me. It is that Notre Dame game, and everybody out there listening knows that sometimes I get that hard on for Notre Dame dropping a game. Maybe that's the one. Maybe not. Who knows? So, I think it's very realistic that we see Boise State make a playoff run here. If you're confident out there and you're listening that Boise State goes 11-1 and their only losses to Notre Dame, don't bet the over at minus 180. Go out there and take them on a flyer to make the playoffs again. You're going to get better odds at that. Go get some plus money on a playoff bet rather than over 9.5 at minus 180. Also, I wouldn't be shocked if that moves to 10.5, and then maybe you can get a little bit better odds there. Obviously, it would probably come down, I would say, damn near even money, if not even money, at over 10.5. And sitting at minus 180, it's got to move at some point. That bubble is going to have to pop. So love Danielson, love Boise State, hate the blue turf. Let's do something about that. But everything else about Boise State is incredible, except, like Nolan said, the Maddox-Madsen Ducks on the out routes. We need to fix that. Guys, he's a junior this year. This is the time for him to take a step up and prove that he can zip the ball around the field and make some serious plays for this football.
I got one thing to add about Boise real quick that I remember when I was researching this team. They're really not 100% sure that Sayer Gaines is going to be the starting running back. Malik Sherrod came in from Fresno. He had almost 1,500 yards a couple years ago for that team. Got hurt last year. So this could be a committee-type backfield too.
Yep.
I forgot to mention that. So, yeah, don't go and put Sayer Gaines on your queue in your fantasy football drafts just yet because
good strategy.
This might be a committee. I forgot about Malik Sherrod. I didn't have him written down in my notes, but I remember reading about him as well. I think we see more of a committee. It's not going to be just a one-man show like it was last year. I just wanted to add that in.
It is projected to be a committee to start the year for sure. Everybody's talking about it. I think it's just halfway through the season. That's when Sayer Gaines really starts to take effect. And by the way, Collin, he's already gone in the draft that we're in. Went in the third round. I looked him up.
Okay. Well, when you move on from Genty, obviously you're probably going to have a committee because you're trying to find your fan base and your coaching staff. You're going to be trying to chase that next Ashton Genty, trying to find it. So you're going to have a little bit of that committee thing. A question just came in here before we move on and talk about the next team. Can you parlay win totals? I'm pretty confident out there that you cannot parlay win totals. There may be a book out there somewhere that allows you to do so. I do not think that you can do that, though, unless somebody out there knows a book that I don't. And if you do, let me know because I'm going to drive to find it because there's a couple that I feel really damn good.
You can parlay win totals, but the only books that take parlayed win total bets are offshores like Bovada, Bet Online, books like that are not. What's the word I'm looking for?
Not necessarily.
They don't have a governing body.
Yeah, not necessarily what you're supposed to be doing.
Like there's Bovada and Bet Online, you can actually use this thing called a parlay builder, and you can put whatever you want in there. Anything.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, if doing things not
But-
the right way is your way.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Highly not legal, so we do not recommend that whatsoever. But another thing with that is you have to use cryptocurrency on those apps, and it's a whole pain, so it's not even really worth it.
My Bitcoin's pretty low, I'll be honest with you, aka zero. So moving on to the next team that we are going to talk about is UNLV. The over-under for UNLV is 8.5. The over minus 105. The under minus 125. Fellas, this was a damn good football team last year, too. We saw this team come neck and neck with Boise State, gave Boise State everything they wanted the 2 times they played. And if you didn't watch those games, those were some of the best G5 football games I can remember in quite some time. They absolutely were slugging this thing out. Correct me if I'm wrong. UNLV was in the headlines a lot last year because Matt Sluka hung it up mid-season, right? Chasing the bag and didn't get the bag and didn't have a job. Is that correct?
Yeah, now he's at James Madison.
And now he is at James Madison. And I think it's awesome that it didn't work out very well for him, and UNLV had great success without him the remainder of the season. So also, Barry Odom, hot shit, moves on from UNLV, goes to Purdue. Good luck. You may get as many wins at Purdue in the next 8 seasons as UNLV will have this season. So Dan Mullen comes in. This is year 1 for him after some time off. I like that move. You could have gave me 100 guesses at who was going to be the next UNLV head coach. Wasn't going to guess Dan Mullen. This guy goes all the way out there on the coast. I don't think he has much experience out there on the coast out there recruiting and things like that. So curious how this works out for him. They were the #1 team in the Mountain West Conference portal rankings. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. But let's also not forget it's because they took 42 players in the portal. This is a whole entire new team, completely revamped everywhere. Do you guys off the top of your head who they brought in at quarterback?
Oh, yeah, they're your favorite player.
The
Alex Orji.
The worst Power 4 quarterback I can remember in some time, I think. Alex Orji in from Michigan to be the quarterback here at UNLV, unless Calandria from Virginia, who also transferred there, can beat him out to be the starting quarterback at UNLV. I don't like either one of them. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. I am not a fan of either one of these quarterbacks at all. But in the G5 world, there is a situation where Alex Orji could be okay. Alex Orji could be an okay to good G5 quarterback. So I'm really anxious to see where Nolan and Bryant, where you two end up on this UNLV football team, because the schedule is also a layup. So Nolan, where are you at with UNLV?
I got them on the over. Truthfully, it comes down to their schedule again. They have the 122nd ranked out of 136 teams strength of schedule this year. It's got to set up well for a good season. I know they have a bunch of transfers. They're actually another stat for you guys. Their returning production is 132nd out of 136 teams. Pretty rough.
It's bad, dude.
Pretty rough. Especially for a good team. It would be different if they were a 0-for team last year. Sure, don't give me a single guy off that roster last year. But they were a good team. So I want people off that roster. Now, like we said, they took a lot of transfers. Offensive transfers, it's a lot of young, unproven guys. So you don't really know what you're going to get week to week. Defense, they have a bunch of former Power 4 teams, Power 5 teams, players, and a bunch of former 4 and 5 stars that just didn't work out at their previous stops. It could bode well for really good defense against a really soft schedule. So again, I have them getting up to that 9-10 win mark. I think a lot of these teams that we're talking about today, they're going to beat up pretty hard on some of these lesser teams, I guess I should say, in the group of 5.
They are definitely a team that can bully some of these opponents because it is a extremely soft schedule. Bryant, where are you at with this?
Boys, I'm actually on the under. I think they lose to UCLA.
I love it.
I think they lose to Boise. They have not won in Colorado. They have not won against Colorado State. What town are they in? Colorado Springs. They have not won there since 2002. And then Wyoming is also a tough place to play, and they're going to be a decent team this year. I have them losing that game. I have them at 8-4. They lost all of their best players. Yeah, they had a bunch of transfers. I just don't think having a first-year head coach and a bunch of transfers will bode well for them. I think they lost the best player they had on their team in Jalen Catalon at safety. He is now gone. Too many question marks for me for a revamped roster with a new head coach, like I mentioned.
Hey, Brian, real quick, remind the people where Catalon went. Remind the people where Catalon went. MIZ, maybe like that.
Going to be one of the best safeties in the league. We'll see. Anyway, he's also like 25. He's played everywhere.
He's a grown man playing football.
Yeah, he's a grown man. But I got the under. I got the under at 8. Could easily be over. I think they could win the Wyoming game, but I think they lose the other 3 I mentioned.
Well, Brian, I am with you. I am also on the under 8.5 on this UNLV football team. I am sitting right at 8-4, though. I have them losing to UCLA. I have them losing on the road to Wyoming. That is an extremely tough place to play. I have them losing on the road to Boise State and on the road to Colorado State. So I have them dropping 3 road games in a row and along with the UCLA game. And it really just comes down to there's no continuity on this football team. If we come back here and revisit this and they go 2-10, I'm not going to be surprised. If we come back here and revisit this thing and they go 10-2, I'm not going to be surprised. But I think it is way harder for them to hit the over on this than it is the under on this. I'm also not a lover of Dan Mullen. I'm not a lover of Dan Mullen. And when you tell me that you take 42 players in the portal and you pair them with Dan Mullen and everything's new, I just don't love that. Even though this schedule is that easy, I just don't love where they're at. So I am with Bryant on this. I am also on the under 8.5 for UNLV football. Anything else?
I think Dan Mullen is the perfect guy. He's not Deion Sanders, don't get me wrong, but I think he's like Deion Sanders light. He's kind of a big personality. He's a look at me. He's a charisma guy. If there's going to be somebody that can get 42 new players, 32 new players, looking at him, getting in on the same message, and, hey, let's play some good football together. Let's play for each other. I think Dan Mullen's the guy to do it. But like you said, it could really blow up in their face. We've seen transfer teams do that. We've seen them blow up. We've seen them do really well and go undefeated. It just big variability. But Dan Mullen would be the guy that I would choose, or one of the guys I would choose to lead a transfer-heavy team.
Hey, maybe you can sell me on that. No, maybe Dan Mullen's going to sell me by week 5. So
there you go.
Hey.
He's definitely probably used to it more than a G5 coach is as far as bringing guys in, not letting them go personally. So that's a decent point there. I just don't think it's going to be over an 8.5 win team this year in the first season of that.
It's the Calandria and Alex Orji thing for me, dude. Like, God, you're going to have to show me that you can throw the football. Dude, he couldn't complete 5-yard hitch routes last year.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Orji's team. I think it's going to be Calandria. I think Calandria, I think he wins it. I think he's a better – you're playing a soft schedule. That's more so why I say it. If you're going to play a soft schedule, don't give me the boom bust guy. Give me Mr. Consistent. Let's go out there and let's play.
Dude, I think one of us 3 could get an interception on Calandria, though. Like, Calandria is king of turnovers. Alex Orji is king of incompletions. So I don't love either situation. Maybe somebody else rises through that depth chart and beats them both out. That would not surprise me either, because if those are my 2 options, I would feel pretty uneasy about that.
Yep.
Moving on to the next team that we are going to talk about, the Toledo Rockets. Is it Toledo Rockets, right? I'm drawing a blank. It's Toledo Rockets. Make sure I got that right. The Toledo Rockets, over under 8.5, the over -115, the under -115. So the bookies out there are dead in between on this Toledo team. Jason Candle is a fantastic football coach. You're 73-40 at Toledo. His name has been brought up time and time again for some of these coaching moves, moving into the P4 conference plays a little bit here, and his name just continues to be brought up on the radar. You go 7-5 last season, not fantastic. Tucker Gleason is back at quarterback, had a 60% completion rate last year, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So you do have a lot of stability back on this defense as well. Decent returning production on offense. You bring in Trainum from Arizona State at running back. Got a good running back there. Kind of your horse should be kind of the bell cow, I would think, here at Toledo this season. So I like what this Toledo team and Jason Candle are putting together. I like what they're putting around Gleason at quarterback. I like how this is shaping up for Toledo. I think this is a team that we could hear a lot of down the stretch, me personally. So, Bryant, you over or under 8.5 for Toledo?
I'm over at 9. Kind of just I got a weird vibe with this team. I agree with what you said with all the returning production and everything, but this team last year was horrible at running the football. They could not get anything going on the ground. I think Trayman will help. Former Ohio State, Arizona State guy will definitely be a plus there at running back, so I think that will help, and I think they'll be better. Tucker Gleason is serviceable. He'll move the ball up and down the field if he needs to. So decent schedule. I think this is harder than some of the teams we've talked about. I got them losing against Kentucky. I got them losing on the road against Washington State. And it seems like every year this team, they play very tough and almost seem to lose game against the Miami, Ohio, that state rival they have there up there in the Northeast. So I had them losing that game on the road. Could easily win that game too, make them 10-2. They got a chance to make some noise, and I think they'll be a quiet team if they do make the noise. Not many people are going to be talking about Toledo probably in November, but they easily could be right there.
I got them on the over as well. I got them at 10-2 as well. I do think how you're bringing up the running game, I think that's why they brought in Chip Trayanum. Again, on the message boards that I was looking at earlier this week, old boy is apparently looking like a superstar in all their camps. He's untouchable from what people have been saying. Can't even get a hand on the guy as he's running the ball.
Well, when you had offers from Ohio State and played there and played at Arizona State, that should be the name of your game when you go to a MAC school.
It's just injuries have derailed him everywhere he went. If he can stay healthy, I think they have their quarterback last year, like you said, he had a good completion percentage. He had a great touchdown to interception ratio. He takes care of the ball well. They also got a 4-star out of high school ranks for recruiting this year that is supposed to impact their team. Maybe not week 1. I mean, he's a freshman. He's coming in. He's not Jeremiah Smith, right? Maybe halfway through the season.
Week 1 is against Kentucky, so
I don't know. Still.
They could be in that game, man. Kentucky's not going to be very good.
Kentucky's great, but
Kentucky's got guys that match up with 4 stars from Toledo like it's nothing, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
They got different body types in Kentucky than they do at Toledo. But anyway, saying that, I think they're going to be great. Defense has less overall transfers than the offense does. They brought in a couple offensive receivers transfer-wise, and then the young freshman that I just talked about. I think they're going to have a great season. It's just they always seem to drop a game or two throughout the year that they should not drop. Like last year, they lost to Akron and they beat Mississippi State.
That's crazy.
Tell me how that makes sense.
It doesn't.
I know. That's terrible. They beat the brakes off Mississippi State. It was like 41-17, if I remember right.
Yep. If they can just win all the games they're supposed to, they're easily 10-2.
Yeah, I'm over as well. I'm at 10-2. I was at 9-3. Going through this most of the week, I was at 9-3 a lot, and I changed yesterday to 10-2. And it is that Miami, Ohio game that both of you guys talked about. And I'm going to give Toledo the nod on this, mainly because I love the pieces, like I talked about a second ago. I love Jason Candle, and I love the pieces that he put around Gleason. I love the transfer receivers. They're not huge names, but they're great names for Toledo in this MAC conference. And when you have a 60% completion, and you can take care of the football, and you've proven that, and you kept stability on the defense, and you bring in Trayanum to be your running back, to be your horse, to take some pressure off of Gleason, I don't see how this schedule doesn't get them to 10-2. You know, we just talked about how they beat Mississippi State, and Bryant, you're saying Kentucky's supposed to be cheeks. I mean, maybe Toledo gives Kentucky a run right out of the gate, first game of the season. You know, I mean, don't count them out already. Do I think it happens? No, but I mean, they could be in this football game. So I like what they have to offer. And if we're talking about how they could be in a Kentucky game, they damn sure could be in a Washington State game. Yep. Like we talked about how we were going to put Washington State on this episode, and we all put our heads together and we're just like, no, I don't want to talk about Washington State. I got to talk about Toledo. So this could be an 11-1 football team with a loss to Kentucky in their first game of the season, and they roll from there. Now, also, like Nolan said and Bryant said, you have to win the games you're supposed to win. You can't lose to a doormat in Akron. You can't lose to a Morgan State, like Kent State. The list goes on. You can't lose to those teams. Take care of business and find your name in some serious conversations late November if you're sitting at 10-2 and 11-1. So I'm cheering for Candle. I'm cheering for Toledo this year and anxious to see how it plays out for them.
That's why I brought up that I feel like Toledo's going to be a team that's going to they're going to be under the radar as far as this conversation. And like you mentioned, they could be easily 11-1 at the end of the season, and the CFP's like, wait, Toledo's a good football team.
Yep.
They're going to be. I think they're going to be right there.
Dude, serious question. What does the committee do if it's a MAC team and not an American team or a Mountain West team? I feel like they always are just like, you have the G5, right? And these conferences are a part of the G5. But when we look at this, ourselves included, we look at the American Conference and the Mountain West Conference and CUSA really could throw in that equation different than we look at the MAC conference. We joke about how we love MAC because it's on Tuesday and Wednesday nights and we can sling bets on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's why we like the MAC. What do they do, seriously, if an 11-1 MAC team is in contention to make the playoffs? Because I don't think they look at them the same.
I think they're going to have to give them a fair shake, personally. I mean, the MAC is a pretty competitive conference as far as across the board. Yeah, it's not the Mountain West or the American, but if you're 11-1 there, I think you're going to have a shot. You're going to be in the conversation.
See, I think you guys are going to hate my argument. This is the same thing the SEC argues every year. My 9-3 team is better than your 10-2 team. And that's what's going to happen. If Toledo's 11-1 and we have Boise State and Navy at 10-2, they will put in Boise State and Navy. It's the same argument the SEC makes every year. It is what it is.
I think your argument, Nolan, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to fall right in line with you. I was literally going to say the MAC is the ACC of the G5, right? The ACC is down here compared to the Big Ten and the SEC, and the MAC is down here compared to the Mountain West and the American. And then you kind of have CUSA, who could be your ACC or your Big 12. It is truly identical. I completely agree with you. I don't know if 11-1 gets them in its other teams in the G5 or 10-2. That's why I was asking that question.
I think they'd have to run the schedule, and I think they're going to have to beat Kentucky by a few touchdowns. They're going to have to beat Washington State by a few touchdowns. They're going to have to beat Washington State. They're going to have to beat everybody else by 21, 35 plus, really catch everybody's attention. I think if they're like Bryant said and they're kind of a quiet team, I don't think the quiet team gets in if you're from the MAC. You got to make a lot of noise and put up a lot of points.
I think how do I put this? If they beat Washington State and lose to Kentucky, I think if they keep it close with Kentucky and Kentucky finds a way to go 6-6 and make a bowl game, I think we're having a different conversation about that 11-1 and maybe making it. Depending on also if Memphis and Tulane and Navy and those teams keep it close with some of their Power 4 conference Power 4 opponents, I should say. So moving on from Toledo, obviously we have high expectations for them. So moving on from Toledo, the next team that we are going to talk about is Southern Miss. And this is a team that Nolan and Bryant just can't stop talking about in our group text. So I am so anxious to see how crazy these guys get over the Southern Miss football team and to see if we can just get in a knockdown drag out in this lobby before we get off of here. So Southern Miss over/under win total at 4.5, the over -180, the under +140. These guys like this team so much, I'm not going to say much. I'm going to kick it over to Nolan real quick and go ahead and let him talk about his favorite team, Southern Miss.
So I just have a hypothetical situation for you guys. If I told you that you could bet the team that won the conference last year at 4.5 wins and they are going off at 35-1 odds to win the conference again this year, would you take it? Because that's essentially what is happening this year.
So hang on real quick. For all the betting listeners out there listening to our episode right now, say this again, Nolan, because you have a lot of traction with this, and I do agree with you on this. So I want them to hear you say this again.
So you want the odds again, or you want my argument?
I want it all. I want all the meat and potatoes right here again. One more time.
Well, here's the argument. This is the reason why I say they're for sure going over 4.5 wins, and you should probably put money down that they win their conference. They just got Marshall's head coach. Marshall won their conference last year in the Sun Belt. They just got Marshall's head coach. They just got 30-plus guys from Marshall. to come to the Southern Miss team this year. As soon as he left, he just took everybody with him. He also took it wasn't the OCDC, but he took all the coaches that he wanted to take. He took them with him to Southern Miss. You are essentially getting the best Southern Miss players to throw on the Marshall team that won the conference last year, and they are somehow at 4.5 wins, and they are somehow at 35 to 1 to win their conference. That is just ridiculous. The quarterback last year at Marshall, he didn't even start the full season, and people were talking about him as one of the Sun Belt players of the year. He played half the year. If he would have played the full year, it would have been a runaway. He would have been the player of the year, and you get him this year as well. I don't understand why they are so low on Southern Miss. It just has to be the fact that it's all these transfers all over again. But they all played together last year. So it's not really that you're trying to establish a culture. You're just doing the same thing in different colors.
Yeah, with that coach, with Charles Huff.
Exactly. So I don't understand. If I was a betting man, conference winner, over 4.5 games, if you got a chance to tease the line up, I'd tease it up as high as you want. I'm giving them almost every game on this schedule this year. Jackson State is going to be a rough one. I don't know if you guys remember, but from the SEC episode, I think they beat Mississippi State this year to open the year.
Yeah, you did say that.
I don't know who they're going to lose to. Texas State's a good team, but they always seem to die at the end of the year. They win their first 5 or 6, and then they end up at 6-6 at the end of the year. And they catch them at the end of the year. Texas State's going to be a good team this year. I think the only team that I'm really, really nervous about would be Jackson State. They're supposed to have a great team this year. And Mississippi State, just because they have different body types. But I think Southern Miss can pull it out because Mississippi State is not going to be trying to prepare for a Southern Miss Sun Belt team. They're going to be looking at it as, let's start it with a scrimmage week 1.
So yeah, I'm right there with Nolan, dude. I got this team at 9 or 10 wins. I don't think they beat Mississippi State personally, but that's going to be a close game. And App State's always pretty good, so I gave App State that game as well. I gave them the Jacksonville State team because I think they're going to be rolling by that point, hopefully. But this is wild because we've always talked about transfers, but not all the transfers from a single team to another team. Like this is the Southern Miss Thundering Herd we're talking about. With the same coach and Charlie Huff that was in Marshall. What's his name? Braylon Braxton? Is that his name?
Braylon Braxton.
Really good quarterback if you watch his film. And he's got all of his guys with him, as well as some of the best players from Southern Miss last year. But I think the reason why it's at over 4.5 is A, the transfers, and B, Southern Miss was absolute garbage last year. I mean, they were really bad. Granted, I don't know why Vegas is taking that into account because all those guys are gone.
Yep.
So I'm right there with Nolan. I think this is the lock of the year, personally, at over 4.5. So I'm going to book that right now. This is the lock of the year.
Book it, baby.
Southern Miss over 4.5. Walk away, home run, winner, walk off, game 7.
So I'm on the under. Nah, I'm playing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't want to piss nobody off here. I'm on the over too. But I'm not as sold on the over as you guys are. I'm in that 7-5, 8-4 range, kind of more so 8-4 than 7-5. I had them losing to Mississippi State, had them losing to Jacksonville State, had them losing to Texas State, and losing to South Alabama in late November. I think South Alabama is a good football team. I think Texas State's a good football team. I think Jackson State is a good football team, and Mississippi State is just better than Southern Miss. Now, Southern Miss going to 1-11 last year is 100% one of the main reasons that their win total is so low. Now, like you guys said, when the whole team leaves and you bring in a whole new team and you went 1-11 last year, that's a good thing. That's a good thing if your whole team leaves and you were 1-11 in the prior season. So they are just taking that into consideration. I mean, they can't throw this win total at 7.5 and they win 2 games this year and miss it that bad. So they're kind of falling on this 4.5 thing. And let's not forget the over is -180. So they're very confident that it's going to be a 5-7 football team or better. So that's kind of where this is falling. Now, Braylon Braxton, preseason Offensive Player of the Year in this conference already. They have 5 Sun Belt preseason all-conference players already. when you hear stats like that and they have it at 4.5, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm with you guys. I think this could be a lock of the year candidate potential for season win totals. Southern Miss over 4.5. I have no problem if you bet your mortgage on that. I think you will get a couple free house payments if you take that. Anything else on Southern Miss?
Watch them win 3 games.
It's possible they come in here at 4-8. That is still in play. The next team that we are going to talk about is a team that we had really high expectations for last year. Kind of came up a little bit short. Not a little bit short. Came up a lot bit short, actually. And that is Liberty. The over-under win total is 9.5. The over is plus 110. The under is minus 140. I think with this football team last year, fellas, tell me if you guys think I'm wrong, but I think there was a lot of blood with Caden Salter and Liberty at that point in time. Caden Salter kind of wanted to get out of there, wasn't able to get out of there, comes back and has to stay on the team last year and be the quarterback again. And he was all over the portal. I mean, there's just so much drama going around this, especially when they were supposed to be one of the best G5 contenders in college football last year and make some noise, people were saying. They could get into the playoffs and make some noise in it. So really, really came up short. But I love Jamie Chadwell. He's a fantastic football coach. This is year 2 after his Coastal tenure. I like what he has to offer. Caden Salter does hop shit this year and is able to get out of there and goes to Colorado. Ethan Vasco comes in from Coastal to be the quarterback. Has a prior relationship with Chadwell. So does kind of make sense as to why he comes in. 54% completion last year, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Don't love that at all. This is a very, very manageable Liberty football schedule. So, Bryant, where you at this Liberty football team?
Boys, this has to be the easiest schedule in the FCS this year. Like, for real. They don't have a Power 4 opponent. A bunch of these teams they're playing are nobodies, personally. I think their toughest game is Jacksonville State. I think this team could personally go 11-1, maybe even 12-0. This schedule is so easy. And my flip side is I think losing Salter burns a little bit, but I think that's also kind of a win-win for both sides. Ethan Kesko is a good quarterback. He's not Salter, but I think he can manage his team well. I think the issue with Liberty is going to be I think they're going to be right there at 11 wins, and I don't think the schedule can warrant them getting into the CFP.
If they're not 12-0, they can't make the playoffs with this schedule.
I don't think they could even do a 12-0, personally.
I think 12-0 would be hard to keep them out. Yeah, 12-0 would be hard to keep them out. Yeah. But I think you're not giving James Madison enough credit. I think they're a decent team again this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're my one loss for Liberty, by the way. Jamie.
It's hard, no matter who you're playing. It's hard to go 12-0, man. I don't see it. I have them on the over, but I don't see them at the 12-0. They're not going to be my pick for the group of 5 teams.
I have them on the over as well. I have them at 11-1 with a slash 12-0 because it is that JMU game. I think that's the only situation where they could have a hiccup. And we talked earlier, Matt Sluka is there at JMU, so JMU does put a good situational quarterback under center for that football team, so it does give them some hope. And we kind of see Liberty and JMU battle it out quite a bit, so that's going to be a tough game. With it being home, that is why I have the slash 12-0 because I do think Liberty could win that game and get to 12-0. And I'm under the impression, Bryant, that if they do go 12-0, there's just no way you leave them out because, like I said a couple times, people love Liberty, man. Liberty has great NIL support. They have a great fan base. That people love what they do. When you hear G5 teams, they are one of the teams that you're always hearing. They're always propped up. It's always a Liberty. It's always a Boise State. It's always a Memphis. Always a Tulane. Liberty is a part of that conversation. So it's really, really hard to not give them the credit that they should deserve if they go 12-0. I mean, like Nolan said, going 12-0, even with this schedule, isn't easy, man. Being perfect is not easy. But with this schedule, they could play C- football and probably win 9 games. Just playing C- football. I mean, Maine, Delaware, Missouri State, Kennesaw State, FIU's not good. Old Dominion's not good.
They're winning.
Okay.
They're winning 10 games just by showing up, personally. So, yep. I mean.
Yeah, dude, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't disagree. So if they're perfect.
I just think we'd have to have like strength of record, strength of schedule conversation when it comes to the CFP, and that is going to be talked about if they're 11-1, 12-0.
Hey, they already kept out an undefeated team from the playoff one time. Don't be able to do it twice.
I love it, Bryant. Hey, that's spoken like a true SEC fan right there too. I love that argument. So, Nolan, did you look to see what Liberty's strength of schedule was? They have to be.
No, I can take a look though.
They have to be down there with.
It's got to be bottom 5.
It's got to be, dude. It's got to be. There's no way.
It might even be the worst. It might even be the worst. I would not be surprised. Like, I didn't even know Maine had a football team.
Hey, dude, they're a really good FCS program, actually. Really consistent, I should say. Not really good. Really consistent.
And, I mean, they got the powerhouse of Missouri State Bears. Got an alumni of that in the show here.
I'm pretty sure SEMO played Maine in a playoff FCS game last year. I think that's
really
who SEMO played. I think. Don't
quote
me
on that. News to me.
Hey, get in line with the FCS, Bryant. We're going to start doing some FCS episodes too because they're awesome.
I love FCS games. I always watch them playoff games. They're fun to watch.
So while we wait for Nolan to look up this strength of schedule result for Liberty, I'm going to kick it to Bryant real quick. Who's your pick to make the playoffs out of the G5?
Honestly, I was split between Memphis and Navy. I think the winner of that game goes to the playoff. I'm going to roll with Blake Horvath. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in Group of 5 conferences. I'm going to go with Navy.
Wow, with the Navy pick, even before the Army-Navy game, it sounds like, huh?
Yep.
That would make it very interesting to put some serious pressure on the playoff committee. Also, I think that's a topic for a different day. I was going to say that I think they should go to like the old BCS rankings, ratings, and get rid of the committee and then take them from there. But that's a topic for a different day. Nolan, did you find that for Liberty?
I did. They are dead last. 136 out of 136. That's a good call.
Bryant said they've got to be dead last, and they are dead last.
It's a good call. Yep.
12-0. It's got to be 12-0 then.
It's going to be that. They're going to have that conversation. Like, it's going to be brought up. If they're 12-0, there's a chance they don't let them in because it's that bad of a schedule.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm telling you, they left out an undefeated team in Florida State because the quarterback got hurt. They can leave out an undefeated team in Liberty because they have the worst strength of schedule. They could.
We'll see.
Don't put it past them.
It could happen. The committee's not great. Nolan, who's your pick to make the playoffs from the G5?
I'm same as Bryant. I'm taking Navy.
I am. You guys are gonna be pissed. I'm taking Liberty. I took them last year. I'm taking them again this year. I think it happens. I think they go 12-0. I think they make it. If it's not Liberty, it's Memphis. If it's not Liberty, it's Memphis.
I just want to see the Navy thing so we can figure out what happens in that situation.
Hey, also on the BCS thing, I was watching a podcast, and I think it was just last year they did it. They did the BCS computer rankings compared to what the committee did.
Yeah.
Exact same teams. Just
was it really?
Yep. So if you're bitching about the committee, probably not going to be happy with the BCS.
Well,
no perfect way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to complain regardless. That's what we do. That's why we're here. All right, fellas. Anything else on the G5 conference? G5 conferences?
No, sir.
There's going to be some teams, especially a few we talked about, that are going to be interesting to watch. I'm excited to see what Tulane does. Obviously, Southern Miss and all that turmoil they have down there with basically a brand new team from a different team. There's a lot of quality teams I think have a shot that are going to be fun to watch, especially down the stretch when they're playing each other.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick, let's talk about our schedule. Obviously, doing this stuff live is incredible. This has been fun. Love the fan interaction that we had tonight. We had 2 listeners out there commenting and getting with us. We can see how many people we have live watching us. That was super cool. Love the chat. Love their comments coming in, so then we can build off their comments a little bit, maybe fire back at if they're firing at us. If you don't like what we're saying, let us know. That is what's fun to us. That's why we wanted to do this. So really love that. Really encourage it moving forward. If you think my gray hair is getting out of control, tell me in the chat. I'll throw it up here. I think it's awesome that we get to talk about that. No one thinks my gray hair is getting bad. I can see. So love all the communication with the fans that we have listening to us. Real quick, like I said, talking about our schedule moving forward. We have now completed all the win totals. So next week, we are going to talk about our Heisman and awards episode. And then the week after that, we're going to do a win totals book it episode. We're going to come back, revisit all these win totals, tell you who we think are our best bets. We're going to get in the lab here a little bit, break it down as a group, and come back and fire those off to you. And in that episode, we will also give our bookets on our deciding factors for the Heisman and the other awards. After that, we have the playoffs and conference winners. That will be the week of August 11th. In the week of August 18th, we are getting back to the 2 episodes a week, the preview and the reviews that we love doing. So make sure that you are following along with us live. We will be here on YouTube live moving forward. You can also get us on Apple at Deep Thread Sports, Spotify at Deep Thread Sports, Facebook, Deep Thread Sports Network, X at DT_sports_, YouTube, Deep Thread Sports. And if you're seeing us on there now, you know what you're doing. Make sure, like Brian said last week, you're pushing the notifications button for us. That way you see when we go live. Tell your friends, hey, it's getting close to college football season. These guys know what they're talking about. These guys win money for us. Tell your friends, get in line with us. Tell everybody, follow our show. We love doing this. Bryant, Nolan, hey, fellas, it's been a lot of fun this episode doing this with you guys. We will see you guys back next week. Until next time, peace.